Helium 10 is one of the best tool suites that I use, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use Helium 10 to find profitable products to sell on Amazon, as well as share with you the smartest ways to use Helium 10's suite of tools so that you can actually make more money once you're selling. Now, this video is going to be the most up-to-date, full-length tutorial on Helium 10. I'll cover all the tools, explain the pros and cons, and even show you how you can use Helium 10 completely free. That's right, you can access all of the features at no cost, and I'll show you how later on in the video. And to make things even easier for you, I've also added timestamps down in the video description below, so if you're looking for a specific tool or feature, you can jump straight to that section. All right, so in order to use Helium 10, you need to first sign up for a Helium 10 account. Signing up is completely free, so if you want to start with a free Helium 10 account, just click on the sign up for free button here at the top of the page. Now, the free version does come with some limitations, which I'll cover in a minute. If you want to unlock everything Helium 10 has to offer, then you'll need to upgrade to a paid plan, but don't worry, I've got you covered with a discount code. I've managed to work with Helium 10 to get my community the best deal available anywhere online for Helium 10, and I'll post a link to that discount down in the video description below. So if you're serious about growing your Amazon business, then make sure you take advantage of that. Now, let's break down the different Helium 10 plans so that you know which one makes the most sense for you. With the free plan, you actually get access to a handful of tools like Blackbox, Xray, Analytics, some of the keyword research tools, and even the Chrome extension. However, the catch is that most of these tools are either locked down or have limited functionality, as you can see here on this list. For example, one of my favorite tools inside Helium 10 is called Blackbox and Xray. It's the best tool for beginners to get started with product research. Blackbox lets you filter Amazon's entire catalog based on specific criteria that you can set, and it'll pull up a list of products that match those criteria, making it much easier to spot viable product ideas. Xray is a Chrome extension that lets you analyze products and niches, and it'll show you granular data that you can't get from anywhere else. Data like monthly sales, revenue, sales trends, profit and fees, and so much more, which I'm excited to show you later on in the video. Now, with the free plan, you do get access to Blackbox, but it's very limited. You can only run 5 searches, and you can only use Xray 10 times. Once you run out, you won't be able to use the tools again without upgrading, which makes product research a bit more challenging. Now, later on in the video, I'll show you exactly how to use Blackbox and Xray to find your own product, but keep in mind that the full power of the tool is unlocked with the paid plans. So let's take a look at those real quick. You can see here that there are 3 options: Starter, Platinum, and Diamond. Personally, I recommend the Platinum plan for most sellers, and that's because the Platinum plan includes all the tools that you'll need to find and launch a product successfully. Now, here's a pro tip. Helium 10 offers a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can actually sign up for the Platinum plan or even the Diamond if you want, test it out for a full week, and if you find a viable product to sell within that time, or if you don't like it for some reason, just email them and you'll get a full refund. Now, the Platinum plan costs $79 per month, and in my opinion, it's a no-brainer investment. This is how I found some of my products, as well as helped so many of my students find their successful products that went on to make thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. You simply won't be able to gather the data that you need to make educated, data-driven decisions without a powerful tool like Helium 10. Now, for those of you that are just getting started or your budget is tight, remember, you don't need to keep paying to use Helium 10 every single month. Once you find your product, you can cancel. Then later on, when you're ready to launch or scale, you can always resubscribe. Now, if you're on a really tight budget, you can start with the starter plan. However, access to most of the useful tools like Blackbox, Xray, Cerebro, and Magnet, which I'll show you how to use later on in the video, is very limited, as you can see here, and it'll make things much more difficult for you if you're serious about building a successful Amazon business. So my advice is this: sign up for the Platinum plan, test it out for 7 days, and see how powerful it really is. If for whatever reason you don't find value, just get your money back. But I'm confident you'll quickly see how much easier Helium 10 makes the process of finding and launching a successful product is. All right, so with that said, before moving on with the tutorial, let's do a quick overview of the tools Helium 10 has to offer, and then I'll go into a deep dive on how you can use these tools to find your first product and start selling on Amazon. So once you've created your Helium 10 account, go ahead and log in. click on Tools here at the top, and you'll see a list of tools. Now let's quickly go over some of these tools that I find the most useful. First, under Product Research, you can see the black box tool that I mentioned earlier. And this is one of my favorite tools. It's Helium 10's flagship product research tool, and in my opinion, is the best place to start for beginners. In fact, this is how I found my very first product. You can use Blackbox to filter Amazon's entire catalog based on a set of precise criteria that you can customize. For example, you can set parameters like the category, total reviews, sales, or price range. And Blackbox will then pull up products that match those criteria, making it much easier to spot opportunities. Another tool worth mentioning is Trendster, which helps you see what's trending on Amazon. It shows how interest in a product or keywords change over time, so you can spot seasonal demand or rising trends before they take off. However, Trendster is reaching its end of life, so soon it will no longer be available. Now, under keyword research, we have Cerebro, and this is one of the most powerful keyword research tools. Cerebro is a reverse ASIN lookup. What that means is when you enter a competitor's product, Helium 10 will tell you exactly what keywords that product listing is indexed for and what keywords shoppers are typing into Amazon to buy that product. This is a great way to spy on your competitors and uncover their keyword strategies and even discover gaps in the market that you can take advantage of. Next is Magnet, which is similar to Cerebro. However, instead of entering competitors' products, you enter seed keywords. And Magnet will pull up a list of all the related keywords, including a ton of relevant data such as search volume, weekly sales, and trends. It'll even show you estimated PPC costs. This helps you discover high demand keywords, identify gaps in the market, and choose the right terms to target in your product listings or PPC campaigns. In short, Magnet shows you what customers are searching for on Amazon so you can create optimized products that match that demand. Then there's Misspellinator. This one finds common misspellings that customers type into Amazon. Most sellers don't optimize for these, which means if you do, you can get some extra sales with very little effort and competition. It's not the most powerful tool in the suite, but it's an easy way to gain an advantage over your competitors. Cerebro, Magnet, and Misspellinator are my go-to tools to create powerful strategic PPC campaigns, which I'll go over later on in the video. Now, speaking of PPC, Helium 10 Ads is Helium 10's PPC automation platform. It helps manage and optimize your Amazon ads. There's also Amazon Attribution, which is designed for off-Amazon advertising. For example, if you're running TikTok or YouTube ads, Attribution lets you create special links to track how many of your Amazon sales are coming from those ad campaigns. That way you know exactly what's working and what's not. There's also Portals, which is Amazon's landing page builder. If you've ever seen a simple website with an email capture form or a dedicated funnel page, that's what Portals is for. It's especially useful if you want to build a community or generate leads outside of Amazon. Another favorite tool of mine is Frankenstien. Frankenstien is a keyword list processor. When you're putting together a keyword list to optimize your listing or to use in your PPC campaigns, you often end up with a huge list of keywords. And Frankenstien cleans up that list by removing duplicates, commas, and formatting issues so that it's ready to use on Amazon. And speaking of listing optimization, Helium 10 has a listing optimizer tool called Scribbles, which helps you build high quality titles, bullet points, and descriptions using your list of keywords. And now Helium 10 has also introduced an AI-powered listing optimizer here called Listing Builder, which goes even further and uses AI to help you create listings faster and easier. Index Checker is a great tool to help you verify whether your product is showing up or being indexed in Amazon's search results for keywords that you're targeting. For example, each time I launched one of my products, I used the Index Checker tool to confirm whether or not my product was actually being indexed for the keywords that I'm targeting. If it's not indexed, that means something's wrong in your listing or backend, which helps you identify that there is a problem so that you can fix it right away. Now, along with identifying problem areas, the Listing Analyzer tool grades your listing and shows you where you can make improvements. Things like the image count, bullet points, or keyword usage. Helium 10 also has a tool called Audience, which lets you run polls and get customer feedback before launching a product. There's a small fee to use Audience, but the feedback you get can be extremely helpful. You can see here that for $50, you get 50 detailed responses, which can be super valuable for validating ideas before spending thousands on inventory. Beyond that, Helium 10 also has an extensive knowledge base with tons of training resources to help you start selling on Amazon. And if you're looking for more help, you can join my Amazon Facebook group. It has over 30,000 members. You can also reach out to me directly for one-on-one consultations, and I'll leave a link to both of those down in the video description below. Now, on the analytics side, you'll find tools like Keyword Tracker to monitor your rankings, Market Tracker to watch your niche and competitors, and Profits, which gives you a full dashboard of your sales and margins. Now, one of my favorite tools here is the Refund Service. Amazon makes mistakes all the time. They often damage your inventory, lose a shipment, or dock you for customer refunds where they shouldn't have. And if you don't personally follow up on those, you won't get your money back. The Refund Service will track down those errors, file claims, and help you recover any money that you're owed. I've had cases where students recovered hundreds, even thousands of dollars with this alone. Lastly, there's Alerts, which helps notify you when you have hijackers or other issues with your listings. And Follow Up, which automates review requests, making it much easier to reach out to your customers for product reviews. So, as you can see, Helium 10 is way more than just a product research tool. It's really a full Amazon seller suite that helps you from product ideas all the way to scaling your business. All right, now that we've done a quick overview of the tools, let's do a deep dive on how you can find your very first product using my favorite tool, Blackbox. And like I said earlier, this is the best tool for beginners, and this is how I found my very first product. Now, finding a winning product can seem hopeless if you don't have a strategy or a plan. So I'm going to show you a simple 3-step process on how to do product research like a pro using Helium 10 to find a winning product like this one over here that I found in less than 10 minutes while filming this video. All right, so the first step of finding a winning product is product discovery. This is where you use different strategies to come up with an endless list of product ideas that you can analyze. You're not going to be able to dream up enough ideas on your own, so the tool we're going to use to help us with product discovery is called the Helium 10 Blackbox tool. Next, you'll need to download and install the Chrome extension. It's important that you do this step because the Chrome extension is what provides detailed data for step 2, which I'll cover later on in the video. So head on over to helium10.com/extension and click on the Add to Chrome button and follow the instructions. Now, once you've done that, log into Helium 10, click on the Tools option here, and then click on Blackbox. Now, there's several ways that you can use Blackbox, but in this first step, I'm going to focus on the Products option here. I'll show you how to use the other options later on in the video. Now, most people refer to this Products option as the product database. In fact, using the product database is how I found my very first product. It's called Products or the product database because Helium 10 has gone through and analyzed the millions of products in the Amazon marketplace. And by using these filters here, which I'm going to show you how to use in a second, we're able to get an endless list of viable product ideas. Now, make sure you select the advanced option here. You can try the simple option if you want, but I suggest using the advanced mode as it gives you much more filtering options. All right, so to get started, select the marketplace that you want to research. In this case, I'm selling in the US, so I'm going to choose the US marketplace. Now, the rest of the filters here, it may seem overwhelming, but I'm only going to focus on a few of them, the ones that I find the most useful and give the best results. All right, in the first one here, pick the categories that you want to sell products in. You can select all of them. However, I personally only choose specific categories like the ones that you see here. And the reason is because categories like clothing or shoes and jewelry have way too many variations with all of the different sizes and colors. And people always change their minds after buying them, so you'll get a lot of returns. And that's not something that I want to deal with as it will get quite expensive. Cell phone accessories and electronics break all the time and can be hard to use. And it's also difficult to improve or differentiate because of the manufacturing process. It's usually pretty complicated and expensive. I also avoid anything that you eat, ingest, put in or on your body like lotions and creams because I don't want that liability if someone gets injured or hurt. And I avoid the toys and games category because they have way too many restrictions. It's way too competitive, and the life cycle of these products is often very short, sometimes less than a year. Now take note that I have all of these categories selected right now, categories that I'm interested in. But I'm going to show you a pro tip in a minute on why you shouldn't use black box this way. So I'm purposely selecting them all right now so that I can show you why in a minute. Now, one of the biggest factors that can lead to failure is not accurately determining the supply and demand of a product. That's sales 101, right? You can't sell a product if there's no one to sell it to. And conversely, it's extremely difficult to get sales if there's a ton of people selling the same thing. So with black box, there's two ways that you can manage this problem. The first is with the review count. This is how many reviews a product has, and the number of reviews is tied to sales. The more reviews a product has, the more sales they have. And we can use this metric to gauge how competitive a product or niche is. And you want to stay away from highly competitive niches. I suggest keeping it under 300 reviews. And anything much more than that, it's just way too competitive. Now, I get a lot of people asking me why you want to stay away from competitive niches. The short answer is it can be cost prohibitive. In basic terms, how Amazon works is they rank all the listings in the search results based on the daily sales velocity. That means the best sellers are going to show up on the first page. And guess what? Over 70% of sales takes place on the first page. So for any seller, the goal is to get your product listed on the first page. And when you're launching a new product, your listing doesn't have any sales. It doesn't have any sales history. So it's not going to show up on the first page or anywhere that a shopper is going to see it. So the only way for your product to get seen is by using Amazon's PPC advertising system. This is Amazon's pay-per-click advertising system where sellers can bid on keyword phrases, and the highest bidder gets the best ad spot in the search results. These are the listings that say sponsored next to them. Like you can see here, right at the top of the first page, these are the highest bidders. And in competitive niches, the best keywords can cost as much as $2, $3, $4 or more per click. So for your listing to appear on the first page, you need to match or beat the daily sales velocity of the top sellers. And typically, in competitive niches, these top sellers are moving dozens or even hundreds of units every single day. So the question is, can you afford to pay the $2, $3, or $4 or more per click to match that kind of daily sales velocity in order to get your listing organically ranked on the first page, especially when not every click will turn into a sale? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so set the max review count to 300, and I'll show you the second way to mitigate competition in a minute. The review rating is the feedback score the listing has or how many stars it has. I typically leave this filter alone to start, but this filter can be extremely useful to help you find products that need improvement, meaning people are buying this product despite the fact that it has poor reviews. For example, you can set an upper limit to 3.5 or 4 stars, and then do some further research to determine how you can actually improve the product based on the reviews. And I'll show you how you can do that later on in the video. Now, in the shipping size, I suggest sticking with only standard size products. This keeps your shipping and Amazon fees low. Oversized products can be a logistical nightmare with high storage and shipping and Amazon fees, to the point where it may not even be cost effective to do FBA. And for the same reason, I suggest keeping the weight 2 pounds or less. You can see here on the fulfillment fee schedule, once you get to around 2 pounds or more, the fees really skyrocket. It's $6 and up for large standard, and even more when you get to the oversized packages. For fulfillment, check them all. Now, down here in the exclude title keywords, I use this field to remove common products that keep showing up in the search that I don't want to sell. For example, I don't want to sell clothes and food items, but quite often these products make it through the filters. So as you can see, I have a huge list of keywords here to exclude, like men's, women's, shirt, pants, etc., etc. And if you're doing private label, you're not reselling branded products. So you can exclude brands like Nike, Under Armour, NBA, and so on here in the exclude brands field. And if you want to use my list, I'll post these keywords down in the video description below. Now, one thing I want to point out, leave the number of sellers filter alone. It doesn't matter how many sellers there are. The only sellers that matter are the ones that are on the first page of the search results. A niche can have 1,000 sellers or more. It doesn't matter. Only the top sellers are your direct competitors. 99% of the other sellers aren't selling anything to matter. Okay, now in the sales section here, this is where you can fine tune everything to specific micro niches. The key here is understanding what each one of these filters does so that you can use them effectively and not use the same filter settings that everyone else is using. That way you can find products that other people aren't seeing. In the price filter, this is where you can set the minimum and maximum price of the products to show in the search results. What I suggest is setting a range between $15 and $50. The reason is because anything less than $15, once you subtract your manufacturing costs and the Amazon fees, there won't be any money left for profit. The Amazon fees are going to be at least $6 to $7 or so. So if we use the rule of thirds here, typically 1/3 would go to manufacturing, 1/3 to fees, and the last third is your profit. So at $15, you can expect 1/3 of that will be your profit, which is $5. Anything less than that just wouldn't be worth your time and would be way too risky. Now, for the upper end, I don't suggest anything higher than $50 to start. That's because products beyond that price point, shoppers will typically put more thought and research into it and compare products and prices. So it's no longer an impulse buy. However, with the current e-commerce climate, I suggest actually setting the price range between $30 and $80. This will help you avoid a lot of competition because most beginners or people with smaller budgets are looking in the lower price range. Higher priced products also generally have a much higher profit margin. So if you have more capital, look into the higher price range. Now, parent monthly revenue is how much gross revenue the product is making each month. Revenue is how much total money is made in sales without subtracting the Amazon fees or the manufacturing and shipping costs. And this is where we can also help mitigate and avoid highly competitive niches. What I suggest is setting this range between $6,000 and $18,000. The reason is because, as I mentioned earlier, typically about 1/3 of the revenue is going to be profit. So if a product is generating $6,000 a month in sales, a rough estimate of the monthly profit is going to be around $2,000, a great starting target. You can always adjust this to suit your own needs, but what I don't suggest doing is setting the upper limit to something astronomical in an attempt to find a golden nugget. Products that have huge monthly sales are usually from major brands or top sellers, and too many lazy sellers are looking for these golden nuggets, so they're going to be on everyone's radar, making them way too competitive, so stay away from them. Now, in the parent level sales, start with the minimum of 300 units. This is a good starting point if you're looking for products with a $5 to $10 profit range. If you do the math, 300 monthly sales with a $5 to $10 profit puts you around $1,500 to $3,000 profit per month, which is in line with the realistic $6,000 monthly revenue that we set earlier. Leave the rest of the filters alone. Now, keep in mind that none of these settings are set in stone. You can play around with them to find different product ideas. So don't just copy what I'm showing you here. For example, you can set a maximum review rating to like 3.5 or 4 stars. So you can specifically look for products that are selling well in spite of the fact that they have poor reviews. Or you can combine strategies such as looking for products that have a low BSR, which stands for bestseller rank, meaning they're selling well despite having poor reviews. And a pro tip, I prefer not to use whole numbers in the price and revenue fields. Most people will put $30 or $50 and just go with it, but I like to think outside of the box, and instead I'll use a number like $29.68 or $50.42 or whatever. It doesn't really matter, just so that I can find those outliers that are right on the border of those price points. Sometimes I'll even search right at the breakpoints, since sellers like to set their prices there just to see what I can find. For example, I'll look right at the $20 breakpoint and set the range between $19.52 and $20.13. Again, the decimal doesn't really matter. Just choose something random. And I'll check again at $30 and $40 breakpoints and so on. Thinking outside of the box is what separates the winners from the losers. Again, there's no right or wrong way of doing this first step of product discovery, so play around with the filter settings, learn what they do, and see what you can come up with. Now, another pro tip, you can save these settings so that you can pull it up again in the future, or save several different ones by clicking on Save as Filter Preset here. You can also use Helium 10's preset filters by choosing one of them up here. Once you have the filter set, click Search. Helium 10 will then pull up a list of products in the marketplace that match the filters that you set. So you can see here that Helium 10 pulled up 500 results, and that might seem overwhelming. So you can actually tighten up the search filters to reduce that number in their search results. For example, only look at the products within a smaller price range today, then tomorrow using the same filters, set a different price range, and so on. That way it becomes more manageable for you on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so now in the search results, you can see that Helium 10 has pulled up a ton of products that match the filters that we set, along with data such as the BSR, monthly sales, reviews, total sales, and so on. But we're not going to worry about all of these. The key here during product discovery is instead of having to think of product ideas on your own, we now have a list of products that we can search through to see if any of them look promising to sell. The thing is, just because these individual products matched our search criteria, it doesn't mean that they're good products to sell. That's a very important fact to remember. We need to do further data analysis. Now, a pro tip here, instead of starting on page 1 of the search results, I actually like to work backwards. That's because everyone else is going to start on page 1. Again, thinking outside the box, I want to try to find products that other people aren't seeing. Now, the key to efficient product discovery is to not waste time doing deep analysis on everything that you see here. Browse through these listings and specifically look for products that you don't immediately recognize or appear strange and out of the ordinary. These are the best products to do deeper analysis on. Products that you're familiar with are almost always going to be too competitive, so don't waste your time doing a deep analysis on them. Now, remember when I said earlier that I selected all of the categories? Well, if you take a look here, you can see that Blackbox pulled up 500 results. Well, there's over 12 million products on the Amazon Marketplace, so how can that possibly be a complete list of products that fit the filters that we set? The thing is, depending on which Helium 10 subscription plan you have, there's a hard limit. In this case, a hard limit of 500 results. So there must be a countless number of products that are missing in the search results. So how can we get around that? Well, here's a pro tip. Instead of selecting all of the categories you're interested in at once, search one subcategory at a time. For example, clear out all of the categories and pick something at random. Let's start with sports and outdoors, outdoor recreation, camping and hiking, and tent and shelters, for example. And if we click on search, notice that it didn't hit the hard limit this time. Now I know that I'm looking at all of the products that meet the criteria that I set in the filters and that I'm not missing any products. Can you see how powerful this tactic is? This is a massively powerful hack that beginners don't know about, and so they're missing out on countless product ideas. So now that you know about this trick, it'll take some time, but repeat this one at a time for all of the subcategories. Okay, so if we take a look at the results, look for unique, strange, or out of the ordinary items. Or in my case, these heavy-duty tent stakes, the massively profitable product that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So as you can see, this is the exact strategy that I used to find it. So this is how to do product discovery. Once you've identified some interesting products, the next step is data analysis. So let me show you how to analyze these tent stakes. Now remember, just because you find an interesting product here, it doesn't mean it's a good product to sell. You need to analyze the entire niche. By analyzing the entire niche, we can determine if there's enough demand, has low competition, and if it meets a number of other factors. So in order to do that, we need to do a search on Amazon for the main keywords for this product. In this case, I think it's obvious that the main keyword is tent stakes. If you're not sure or you want to verify what the keyword is, you can always head over to Amazon, make sure to choose all departments, and do a search for what you think it is, and take a look at the other listing titles to see what the sellers are actually calling it. Now, you can also verify this by browsing through the search results to make sure that the majority of the listings are indeed the same product that you're interested in selling. If you see a ton of unrelated products, then you've probably used the wrong keyword. In this case, these are all the same products, so I'm on the right track. I want to point out that it's extremely important that you choose the correct keyword phrase when you're analyzing niches, because if you use the wrong keyword phrase, you'll end up analyzing the wrong data. In this case, everything looks right, so we're going to start the data analysis by using another tool called Xray. Xray is a Helium 10 Chrome extension, so make sure you have that installed first. Then click on the Helium 10 icon here and click on Xray. Now, as you can see, Xray has pulled up all of the details for these top listings in the search results. Isn't that awesome? This is data that you won't be able to get by any other means. Amazon themselves simply doesn't provide this data to the public. We can see each listing's monthly sales, sales history, revenue, how much the fees are, and so on. And while we're here, because of how important it is that you're using the correct keyword phrase, you can verify this by checkmarking a few of the top sellers here. For example, these 3 listings here that have a ton of sales, and click on Run Cerebro. This will open up another powerful tool from Helium 10, and Cerebro will show you all of the keyword phrases that these listings are ranking for. Sort the list by search volume and take a look at the list. We can see that these ones here are not related to the 10 stakes. But if we keep scrolling down, we can see 10 stakes here, and it's the first keyword on this list that's related to the product with the highest search volume. So this is the correct keyword phrase. All these other keywords are a different product. Okay, now back on Xray, one super important point I want to mention here: do not sort these listings or rearrange them. I see way too many people doing this. You always want to analyze niches with the listings in their organic order. That's the order as they appear in the search results. This is because these top listings are the listings you'll be competing directly against. You don't want to sort the listings by sales or by revenue or whatever that I see people doing. You also want to ignore all the sponsored listings. These are the listings that have the SP icon next to them. These are listings placed on the page based on Amazon's PPC advertising system. They're not organically ranked here. You can actually hide these listings so they don't show up at all by going to the settings here and checkmark Hide Sponsored Products. Now, by analyzing the data such as the price, sales volume, revenue, and reviews, you can determine if this entire niche meets the criteria that you set in the filters and hit your target profit and sales goals. Now, the first thing that caught my eye is the price point of these products. You can see that the majority of them are way too low. Most are under $10. There's no way I can make any money selling these. So I was about to give up on this product idea, but this listing here caught my eye, and I noticed that these 10 stakes were different. These are screw-in 10 stakes. They're not these smooth shafted ones like in the search results. So I did a search for screw-in 10 stakes instead. And pulling up Xray again, the price point is much better, close to $30. And the top listings are selling over $20,000 a month. Much better, right? Okay, so now the first thing I like to do is check to see if the niche is too competitive. And we can gauge that by looking at the number of reviews. Scan down the top 15 to 20 listings and see if the majority of the listings have less than 300 or so reviews. That means out of the top listings, you want to see if most of the listings have less than 300 reviews. Actually count them. Never rely on the summary here at the top. Again, too many people rely on this summary. These are averages up here, and averages don't tell you the whole story. For example, if a few listings have a ton of reviews or very few reviews, it'll throw off the entire average. For example, if only one listing was selling $100,000 each month, but all the other listings have barely sold any, then the average revenue of the top 10 sellers would show $10,000 a month, when in reality, only one seller is actually making any decent sales. So only use these averages as a reference. Never base any decisions on it. Now, we can see that most of the listings here have less than 300 reviews, so this niche has pretty low competition, which is great. So let's keep analyzing. Now, if it didn't, and all the listings had way over 300 reviews, I wouldn't waste any more time on this niche. I just forget it and move on to the next product idea. The key during data analysis is to try to disqualify a product as quickly as possible so that you can move on to the next one. That way you can maximize the number of product ideas that you're analyzing and the time that you're spending. So now let's check to see if it meets your sales and profit goals. Do most of the listings have 300 or more sales per month? Again, count them. Don't use the averages at the top. Do most of the listings generate $3,000 per month or more in revenue? In this case, yes. Now, another extremely convenient tool that Helium 10 has is a built-in profit calculator. It's important that you take a look at what the potential profit margin is because the sales and revenue that you see here is just a small picture. For example, you can choose a couple of the top sellers and get a rough estimate of their profits by opening up their listing, then click on the Chrome extension and choose Profitability Calculator. What's great about this tool is that by doing it this way, you can see that it pulls up all of the product details for you as far as the size and weight and other relevant information. It's important that you have actual product details when you are figuring out the profit margin because these factor into the FBA fees. Now, you can see the sale price here. You can adjust it if you want. The estimated manufacturing and shipping costs, the FBA and referral fees, as well as the storage fee. And down here, it shows you what the net profit is. How great is that? Of course, you can adjust all of these parameters. For example, if you head on over to Alibaba and you get a rough estimate of what the costs are, you can adjust the price here and you'll get a pretty good estimate of what your profit will be. Now, if you don't have Helium 10, you can also use the free Amazon FBA calculator. Just do a search on Google for FBA calculator and it'll be the first link, or I'll post a link to it down in the description below. And while we're on the listing page, Helium 10 also has a convenient summary here at the top. For example, you can see the listing quality and how you can possibly improve it, as well as the top keywords this listing is ranking for. And if you scroll down, you can find a historical graph of the price and BSR, which can give you a good idea of how well this product has been performing over time. You can also get an estimate of their inventory levels and other tools here, including the calculator that we just went over. Okay, now moving on with the data analysis, an important metric that sellers don't consider is the listing age. This is how long the listing has been available for sale on Amazon. You want to avoid niches where there's a lot of new listings. This is what I call niche saturation. If you see too many new listings, that means a lot of people have recently discovered this niche and launched their products, and there's probably more to come. This increases the competition and drives up the PPC costs. You also need to keep in mind, with new listings, you can't trust their sales and revenue data. Their sales are most likely generated by doing deep discounts, coupons, promotions, and rebates in order to generate those sales. They're not organic sales. Therefore, out of the top 15 to 20 listings, you want to make sure that you don't see more than 4 to 5 new listings. Make sure most of the listings are more than 3 months old. In this case, we can see that all of them are nearly a year old or more. You also want to make sure that the niche isn't brand dominated, meaning that there isn't any brands that have more than 3 or 4 listings here in the top 15 to 20 positions, and that there isn't any major well-known brands. The reason is because top brands are well established, and they tend to have brand loyal customers that will only buy from them, so shoppers are less likely to consider buying from third-party sellers. Big brand names may also be generating sales from direct traffic outside of Amazon, where they're sending traffic directly to their product listings. So you won't be able to compete with them since you're relying on PPC sales and searches on Amazon. And not to mention, major brands generally have unlimited advertising budgets, so it'll be difficult to outcompete them. In this case, we can see that there's no major brands and no single brand has multiple listings here at the top positions. Another factor you need to consider is seasonality, meaning products that only sell well during a short period of time of the year, like Christmas decorations or Halloween costumes. You want to sell products that sell well all year round. An easy way to check is to click on the sales graph on one of the top sellers that's been selling for more than a year. Select all time and make sure the sales is pretty consistent throughout the year. It'll be pretty obvious if the product is seasonal. For example, if we look at pool noodles, you can see that they only sell well during the summer months. For these tent stakes, you can see it's fairly consistent throughout the year, but as expected, they would sell more during the summer months. You can also click on the search volume up here and do the same thing. Now, if you don't have Helium 10, you can check for seasonality by doing a search on Google Trends. Do a search for the main keyword and change the period to 5 years. And again, you can see the trend. And in this case, tent stakes does seem to have a lull between November and March. Now keep in mind though, some niches may have spikes during Christmas if they're giftable products, and that's okay. I just don't recommend selling seasonal products until you have more experience because inventory management is extremely important in order to be profitable. Now, I'm just scratching the surface here when it comes to product analysis. There's much more factors that you need to consider, such as patents and trademarks, restricted and prohibited products, gated products, and product compliance. You can't just sell whatever you want on Amazon, but that's beyond the scope of this video. So if you want to learn more about that, I'll post a link to a detailed video down in the description below. All right, now, if you find a viable product that meets all of these analysis criteria, or at least comes close, you can move on to step 3 of product research, and that's making sure your product has some sort of competitive advantage. This is a crucial step that so many new sellers don't consider. Once you've identified a good product idea, one that passes all the criteria, you can't just sell the same thing as everyone else. Otherwise, you can only compete on price, and you never want to compete on price. Otherwise, everyone selling the same thing will end up in a price war where everyone just keeps lowering the price in order to capture sales, that the price gets driven so low that there's no money left for profit. Now, there's tons of different ways you can differentiate your product, such as improving the product, fixing a problem, adding a feature, or bundling it with a bonus item. For example, if you click on some of the top sellers, you can see what shoppers have frequently bought together here. You can use these ideas to create a bundle and add value to your product idea. Or you can do some research and see what other items people use or need when they're using the product. Now, one of my favorite ways to come up with ideas is to analyze the reviews. It's the best way to get real-world feedback from actual shoppers and find excellent ideas to improve the product. What you can do is take a look at some of the top sellers' listings and use another tool from Helium 10 called Review Insights. Then click on the Keywords option here. This is going to show you all the top keyword phrases in the reviews. You can scan down this list to identify any problems or suggestions left by actual shoppers. For example, look at the low ratings here. You can see what shoppers are complaining about. These are things that you can fix, and you can actually use the rating filter here to only look at the poor reviews. For example, I can see that a common issue is that these are pulling out of the ground. So you can improve the product by fixing this issue. And similarly, look at the top ratings. Identify features that shoppers are raving about and make sure your product includes these features. You can see here that shoppers are saying that it works well, they're easy to install, and so on. Remember, people tend to complain about the same thing or rave about the same thing, so do your research to identify what these key features are. And a pro tip, if you click on the variations option here, you can see the reviews grouped by variation. This is a great strategy to help you determine which variation sells the best. For example, we can see that this 20 count in white is easily outselling all of the other options here. 44% of the sales is from this one variation. So, judging by this metric alone, if I was to launch this product idea, I would highly lean towards white and in a 20 pack. But again, you want to do this for several of the top sellers and put together a complete and thorough list of ideas and not just focus on one single listing. That way you can use this feedback to develop a much better product than all of your competitors. Now, speaking of reviews, let me take a quick minute to show you how me and thousands of other sellers have been using a powerful insert cart strategy by Review Scan Go to get verified reviews fast, especially during a new product launch when you don't have any social proof. Let me ask you a question. What's your strategy to get reviews? If you're already using insert cards, are they actually getting you reviews? If you're still using those old thank you, please leave a review cards, you already know they don't work. That's why I built Review Scan Go, the smarter way to get hundreds of reviews fast. With Review Scan Go, you can create insert cards with QR codes on them that actually work. Like this one here that I personally use that offers my customers a free $5 Amazon gift card. When your customers scan the QR code, it leads them into your own personal funnel where you not only collect a review, but also build your own email list of your customers. And here's the best part. The funnel is smart. If your customers weren't happy with your product on the last step here, it doesn't ask them to share their review on Amazon, so you can avoid bad feedback from getting shared to your Amazon listing. No coding, website, or any special skills are required, and it's 100% Amazon compliant. It's also 100% free to try, and you can set up your very first campaign in minutes. If you want to learn more about how Review Scan Go works and how easy it is to incorporate this strategy, I'll leave a link to a detailed video down in the description below. So head on over to reviewscango.com and start building reviews and your email list today. Okay, so now that we've covered that, let's rewind a bit. Using the product database isn't the only way to do product discovery. In fact, there's no right or wrong way to do product discovery. Sometimes I'll even find interesting product ideas from just doing my day-to-day activities. I've actually made videos about products that I found while running errands. Remember, you always want to be thinking outside of the box. So I'll show you a couple of other ways that you can use Helium 10 for product discovery. If we head on over to the keywords option in black box here, we'll find a different set of filters that we can use to pull up a list of product ideas that match these criteria, just like we did in the product database. So how this works is, unlike the products option, instead of pulling up product ideas, it's going to pull up keyword phrases based on the search volume and any other metrics that we set here. This way you can find different opportunities based on what people are actually searching for. So to start, choose the marketplace that you want to look in. Then in the search volume filter, I suggest setting a minimum search volume of around 300 to 3,000. That's 10 to 1,000 searches per day. Anything less than that just wouldn't have enough demand. You can start with no max search volume, but I suggest setting this upper limit to around 30,000 to 50,000 range. You want to stay away from extremely high volume keywords because they tend to be way too competitive, but you can always play around with these and see what kind of results you get. In the monthly revenue, price range, and review count, set them using the same strategy that we did for the product database. So set the price range between $15 to $50, the revenue between $4,000 and $16,000, and the review count, a max of 300. And again, like we did in the product database, you can set a maximum review rating if you want to specifically look for opportunities where there's room to improve the product. Now, a pro tip here is I suggest setting the word count to a minimum of 3 words. This is because the shorter keyword phrases, generally speaking, have much more competition. But not only that, the shorter the keyword phrase, the broader the product selection is. You want to find product opportunities that are more specific. For example, if someone was looking for a knife set, that keyword phrase might be too broad and it'll include hunting knives, woodworking knives, and kitchen knives. So a better keyword phrase would be more specific to what a shopper is looking to buy, like kitchen knife set. So because of that, start with a minimum word count of 3, but you can always play around with this and see what you come up with. In the advanced filter section, select the categories like we did in the product database. Fulfillment, excluded keywords, monthly sales, and shipping tier size. Also set these filters like we did before in the product database. Again, you can play around with all of these other filters too, but these settings here are a great starting point. I don't really use any of these other filters here, but as I said before, there's no right or wrong way, so play around with them to see what kind of results you get. Then hit search. Now, notice that in the results, you're not getting a list of product ideas. Instead, this is a list of keyword phrases that match the filters that we set. Now, like we did in the product database, I ignore all of the data that you see here on the right. What I suggest doing is look through these keyword phrases and see if there's anything strange and unique. Again, stay away from things that you immediately recognize. It's probably going to be too competitive. And stay away from simple, uninspiring products. What I mean is like these carriage bolts. At the end of the day, it's just a bolt. Or these crazy straws. There's nothing you can do to make them unique or improve the product and add any real value. At the end of the day, shoppers are just going to look for the option that has the most quantity at the lowest price. And I don't want to sell products like that. There's simply no money to be made there when it just ends up being a price war. So let me show you what you can do when you do find an interesting idea. For example, this griddle caddy for Blackstone caught my eye. I have no idea what this thing is, so let's do a search on Amazon. Again, make sure you choose all departments, and let's take a look and see what this thing is. Now, it looks to me like it's an attachment for a barbecue for you to store barbecue tools and accessories. That's pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure people that love to barbecue would love to have something like this. So let's pull up Xray and let's take a look at the numbers. So the first place that I like to look is at the competition. And remember, I want to see most of the top 15 to 20 listings have less than 300 reviews. And this niche looks like it's right at the borderline of meeting that criteria. That's pretty interesting. Now, if we take a look at the price point, these are selling around $30 to $40, and that's also really good. And these top sellers are actually making over $20,000 to $30,000 a month. Wow. In fact, there's only 3 listings here that are under $4,000. And you know what? I may have accidentally stumbled across another winning product while making this video. And so a quick glance over here, it's not brand dominated either. And all of the listings here are at least a year old, so it's definitely not saturated. So this is amazing. I mean, there you go. I hope you can see how easy it can be to find a winning product idea if you have a strategy and a plan in place. Again, I would do a bit more research into this product, but so far it passes all of the data analysis criteria that I went over earlier. Although I do have a feeling that this might be a seasonal product. So if we take a look at one of the top sellers here and look at their historical data, yep, just like I thought, it does sell amazingly well during the summer. And of course, people like to give products like this away for Christmas, so there is a spike here. So thinking about this, I personally wouldn't pursue this product because it is seasonal. But for those of you that are less risk adverse, there you go. I did most of the hard work for you. Just do a bit more research before diving in. Now, back on Blackbox, there's another option here, the niche option, which is another excellent way to do product discovery. This option is a little different than the other two. Instead of the typical filters, you want to enter a keyword phrase that describes a niche that you're interested in. For example, you can put gardening, fitness, home organization, or you can be more specific, like golfing or gifts for mom, or you can even try niches that you're familiar with, such as your own personal interests or hobbies. That way you can actually have knowledge about the products, which can give you a huge advantage on what to look for and how to improve the product. Now again, having the right tools at your disposal and knowing how to properly use them is what separates the winners from the losers. If you want to try out Helium 10, remember I do have a link down in the description below for a trial if you want to test it out, as well as a coupon for you to get a huge discount if you do decide to upgrade. All right, now that we covered product research using Blackbox, keep in mind that this isn't the only way that you can use these tools to find and validate product ideas. I'll leave a link down in the description below to other advanced strategies that you can use that are beyond the scope of this video. So moving on, let's take a look at keyword research with Cerebro and Magnet. Most beginners are doing keyword research and PPC campaigns completely wrong. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you're probably one of them. What I mean is most beginners will just find the best keyword tool, but have no idea how to properly use it. You can't just take the results from a tool, stick them into a PPC campaign and expect it to perform. Doing it this way is extremely amateur and is precisely why you're not getting any sales, you're blowing through your budget, and your ACoS is too high. Imagine you're running a lemonade stand, and on the first day, you count how many people walk by and how many buy lemonade, and at the end of the day, you have 2 numbers but no clue why some people didn't buy. So on the next day, you change your strategy. You know what time people stop by, their age, how hot it is, and whether they ask for samples. You discover that sales spike in the afternoon and that people buy more when you offer them free samples. Now, can you see the difference? It's paramount that you have a specific strategy in place before you even start. Otherwise, it's impossible to analyze and optimize your data. And today, I'm going to show you how, as well as reveal an advanced step that only the pros know of. Okay, so first of all, don't even try using the free keyword tools. You get what you pay for. Garbage in equals garbage out. The keyword research tool that I recommend is from Helium 10, and the first one we're going to use here is Cerebro. What Cerebro does is it allows us to enter our competitors' listings, and it will grab all of their top keywords. Basically, instead of having to start from scratch, we're going to steal all of the top performing keywords from the top sellers. And the key here is that these are keywords that are actually performing. Keywords that actually convert and lead to sales. How powerful is that? That's why those free tools are pretty much useless. So obviously, to get started, we need a list of competitors. So let's take a look at these camping tent anchors. This is actually a new product idea that I'm working on, so I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to do keyword research and set up PPC on this product. So the first thing you need to do is do a search on Amazon for your product using the main keyword phrase. So in this case, these are screw-in tent stakes. Now, I'm going to grab the ASIN of the top 3 listings. These are generally going to be the top 3 organic listings you see here, and quite often they're going to have the overall pick or bestseller tag. Make sure you do not pick the sponsored listings or products that are not the one that you want to sell. It needs to be the exact product or very similar. And I also want to point out here that it's important that you grab the ASINs in order. Get the top ASIN first. So in this case, it's this listing here. Grab the ASIN and enter it into Cerebro. You can get the ASIN from the URL. It always starts with a B0, or you can scroll down the listing page and you can get it from this section here. Then paste it into Cerebro. Grab the next one, and then the third. And remember, the order matters. For products that have a lot of monthly search volume, 3 is typically all you need, but on lower volume products, you may need to grab 5 or 6 ASINs. So in this case, 3 is all we need. Click on Get Keywords. Now, if we take a look here, Cerebro returned over 2,000 keywords. That's way too many to go through, so we can tighten up the results by adding a few filters. The first filter we're going to use is the match type filter. So instead of pulling a list of all the keywords these ASINs are using, let's only grab the organic keywords. You want to always set this to organic anyway, since this will make the keyword results far more relevant. Notice that it cut down the list by over half. The next filter I'm going to use is the competitor rank. I'm going to set this to a maximum of 60. What this will do is it will show the keywords where the ASINs are ranking in the top 60 positions. I chose 60 because there's 60 listings on the first page of the search results. Again, notice it cut down the results even more. Now, this is still a bit too many for my liking, so let's see if we can narrow it down just a little bit more. I'm going to put a minimum of 2 in the number of competitors filter. What this does is it will only show keywords that are common between at least 2 of the ASINs in our ASIN list. Can you see how powerful Cerebro is? You're not going to find these types of features on other tools. In fact, I have a huge discount on Helium 10 for my followers, so if you want to try it out, there's a link down in the description for a free trial as well as the coupon code. All right, perfect. You can see that the results have narrowed down quite significantly to something much more manageable now. Usually somewhere around 200 to 300 is good. Now we have a highly targeted and relevant keyword list for the product, but we're not quite done yet. We need to clean up the list and then sort them into an actionable strategy. So the first thing we need to do is remove any irrelevant keywords and keywords that have any brand names in them. Now, for obvious reasons, you don't want to have any keywords that are unrelated to your product, and you don't want to use or advertise your competitors' brands. So go through the list and check mark these keywords and click the delete button up here. Now, if you're not quite sure if a keyword is relevant, you can hover your mouse over the keyword and take a look at the products that are pulled up. If they're not the product that you want to sell, then remove the keyword. If you make a mistake, you can always click on the View Deleted Words button here and add it back. Once you've gone through the list, checkmark all of the remaining keywords and save this list by clicking on the Add to My List button. Helium 10 calls them folders, so create a new folder and give it a name. Now, you want to be detailed and specific here so you can easily identify each list in the future. So in this case, I'm going to name this folder Tent Stake Master List, because this is going to be our master list of keywords. Now click Save. The new folder will show up here, and notice that it says 0. So click on it and add all the keywords to this list. Now, if you have more than one page of keywords, navigate to each page, checkmark the keywords, and add them to the list in the same way. Now, this is the time-consuming part. We're going to go through this master list a few times to create a few additional lists. The first list we're going to create is a list of main keywords. These are the keywords that are highly relevant to your product. For example, these are keywords that people would be searching for specifically to buy your product. Again, checkmark these keywords and create a new list. So in my case, anything related to screw-in tent stakes, I'm going to checkmark. When you're done, create a new folder, tent stake main keywords, and add the keywords to this folder. Now, to make things a little bit easier, delete these keywords from the list so we don't have to look at them. Now, don't worry, you have the master list already saved, so deleting them just makes this faster so you're not looking at these keywords that you've already saved in a list. Now, we're going to go through the list and checkmark any keywords that are related to the product. So, unlike the main keywords, these are keywords that the buyers might be searching for because they don't quite know what to call the product, or they're looking for something very similar, or they're using a broader search term. So for example, tent stake or tent anchor, gazebo stakes, and so on. Now, this may end up being most of the keywords that are left on this list, but just make sure you don't include any misspelled keywords. Now, save this folder as tent stake relevant keywords. Again, once you've saved it, delete these keywords from the list. And now we're going to go through the list and checkmark all the misspelled keywords. Save them in a new folder, tent stake misspelled keywords. Okay, now we're going to move on to step 2. Go up to the top of the page and click on Tools, My List Keywords, and here you can see the list of keywords that we've created. Click on the main keywords list and sort it by volume, highest to lowest. Now copy the very first keyword here. This is the best and most relevant keyword phrase for your product. Then click on Tools, Magnet, and paste your top keyword and click on Get Keywords. Again, choose organic match type and aim for around 200 to 300 results. If you have too many keywords, you can try entering a minimum search volume to filter out only the more searched keywords, or add a minimum word count of 2. But in this case, we're around 200 results here, so we're good. So let's move on. Okay, now repeat the steps that we did back with Cerebro. Remove any unrelated keywords and brands, then checkmark all the main keywords and add them to the main keyword list. Then checkmark all the relevant keywords and add them to your relevant keyword list. And then finally, all the misspelled keywords, add them to the misspelled list. Now, the purpose of doing this additional step in Magnet is to find any additional keywords that the ASIN list didn't pull up. And don't worry, if there were any duplicate keywords in your list, Helium 10 doesn't add them. All right, now the hard part is done. We can move on to step 3. Here's where we're gonna go the extra mile and do something only the pros know of. We're gonna fully take advantage of any commonly misspelled keywords related to our product. So head on over to your keywords list, open up the master list, checkmark all the keywords and click on Download CSV. Open up the file in Excel, or in my case, Numbers, because I'm on a Mac and Mac is best. Copy the entire column of keywords. Then click on Tools, Misspellinator, and paste the keywords here. Click on Prepare at the bottom, then click on Select All, and then click on Find Misspellings. Now, what Misspellinator has done is it's gone through our master list and pulled up all the most commonly misspelled keywords, as you can see here. But the thing is, we don't need all of them. Amazon actually auto-corrects a lot of the frequently misspelled keywords for you. For example, if I do a search for screw-in tent stakes and intentionally misspell it, notice that it auto-corrected it for me. So in Misspellinator, make sure to checkmark Select Non-Auto-Corrected Misspellings. Then click on Export and choose Selected Misspells, not all misspells, and save the file. Then open it up in Excel or Numbers again and highlight the first column. These are the correctly spelled keywords, and delete the entire column. We don't need them. The first column you should see here now should be the misspelled keywords. So again, save this file and make sure to save it as a CSV. Then head back to your keyword lists and open up the misspelled keyword list. Click on Add Keyword, choose Import from CSV, and select the file that you just saved. You'll notice that all the keywords have been added here. Then click on Save. And that's it. Now we have 4 ready-to-use keyword lists for our listing optimization as well as our PPC campaigns. The reason why we went through all of this trouble is just like the lemonade stand example. We now have separate keyword strategies that we can test and optimize. We can use different matching and bidding strategies for each list, and the data collected for each strategy will be separate and much easier to digest and analyze. All right, now that we've covered that, I hope you've learned how to properly do keyword research using Helium 10's keyword research tools. Of course, what to do with these lists of keywords is an entirely different topic on its own, so I'll leave a link down in the description below on how to use them to create strategic PPC campaigns if you want to learn more about that. So for now, let's move on to the other tools, starting with Helium 10 Ads. This is a more advanced feature, and honestly, if you're a beginner Amazon seller, you won't need to use this tool right away. What Helium 10 Ads does is it automates your Amazon PPC campaigns. PPC stands for pay per click, which is a really powerful way to market your products, especially during a new product launch. But for now, don't worry about this one. We'll keep the focus on the tools that are most useful when you're just getting started. The Amazon Attribution tool lets you track any off-Amazon advertising that you're running. So if you're driving traffic from places like TikTok, YouTube, or even through QR codes on product inserts, Attribution helps you see exactly where those sales are coming from. What you can do is create special tracking links, and when customers use them, Amazon Attribution shows you which sales came from which source. Now, the account that I'm showing you here isn't connected directly to Amazon, but once it is, you'll be able to track clicks and conversions in detail. This is an especially powerful tool, and I highly recommend it if you're running any kind of off-Amazon marketing. It takes the guesswork out of your advertising by showing you exactly what's working and what's not, so that you can increase your ROI on your advertising dollars. Portals is another really powerful tool inside Helium 10. This tool lets you create landing pages to create emails or drive more sales without having to build a full website from scratch. You can even connect a custom domain and use one of their ready-made templates to get set up really quick. For example, let's take a look at one of the available templates, like this one here. You can see it highlights your product with a 60% off discount, and customers can purchase your products directly by clicking on the buy button here. So instead of spending hours designing your own website, you can spin up a professional looking landing page in just a few minutes. This is definitely a powerful feature you should consider incorporating if you're looking to scale and build an audience outside of Amazon. Frankenstien is Helium 10's keyword processor. If we take a look at a keyword list that I put together for one of my products, it's a huge list. I could drop the list into Frankenstien, choose the options that I want down here, and hit process. Now, Frankenstien returns a cleaned up list for you. It removes duplicates, converts everything to lowercase, and strips out unnecessary spaces or any other options that you've selected. This list is now ready to use on your Amazon listing, PPC campaigns, or drop straight into your backend fields on Amazon. It's definitely a more advanced tool, but it saves a lot of time and ensures your listing is properly keyword optimized. Scribbles is Helium 10's listing optimizer, and it's designed to help you build out a strong Amazon listing. All you have to do is add all of the keywords and phrases that you want to optimize for here, then write your title, bullet points, and description, and Scribbles will keep track of the keywords that you've used. For example, as you write your copy, Scribbles helps you make sure you're actually including those keywords in your title and bullet points. This way, you're not only creating a professional looking listing, but you're also making sure it's fully keyword optimized for the Amazon search algorithm. Another really useful tool is the index checker. This lets you see whether your product is actually indexed on Amazon for your targeted keywords. For example, if we take a look at this product listing here, we can check if it's indexed for the keyword tent stakes. And as you can see, it obviously is. However, if we check for can opener, you can see that that is not indexed, which makes sense because can opener doesn't apply for this product. When you launch a new product, the index checker is a super handy tool because you can paste up to 200 different keyword phrases at once and instantly see which ones your product shows up for. This way, you can quickly confirm that your product is searchable for the right keywords. And if it's not, you know you've got some optimization to do. The next tool is the listing analyzer. Let's run an example and see how that works. When we drop a product in here and hit run analysis, the tool breaks everything down for us. First, it shows sales estimates. It also grades the listing itself, as you can see here. It has a quality score of 8.2 and any potential areas where it can be improved or is lacking. It also shows details like the monthly sales, revenue, BSR, number of reviews, and keyword performance down here. And the beauty of this tool is that you can analyze any product. It doesn't have to be your own. You can instantly learn from what other sellers are doing well. That way you can take those insights and apply them to your own listings. Another tool is the new AI listing builder. Now, to be fully transparent, I haven't used this one in depth yet, since it's a new tool, but it looks really promising. You can use the listing builder to create a listing from scratch, optimize an existing listing, or have the AI generate images for your listings. For example, if we want to create a new listing from scratch, on the first step, choose one of your saved keyword lists or create a new one, and the tool will build out the entire listing content for you. Here, you can see a list of the keywords that you're targeting and which ones have been used. And over here, you can see all the copy that was created for you, such as the title, bullet points, and description. How powerful is that? It basically walks you through the process of creating an optimized listing for you, making sure you're including all the right keywords in the right places. And honestly, I think this is a really powerful tool to start with if you're creating a new Amazon listing, because it takes out all of the guesswork. Then go through the AI generated results to make sure it's exactly how you want it. Another powerful tool is Audience that I feel is underutilized. Audience lets you get real product feedback before you launch. You can create a poll, ask specific questions about your product or packaging, and get actual customer insights. The cost to use Audience is $50 for 50 detailed responses, which in my opinion is a pretty affordable way to validate your ideas before investing in a final product design direction. Now, when you get Helium 10, you also get access to a bunch of different learning resources. There's the Freedom Ticket Training Series, Learning Hub, Ads Academy, and these others here to help you learn about selling on Amazon and build a successful and profitable Amazon business. And as I mentioned before, if you're looking for more help, you can join my Amazon Facebook group. It has over 30,000 members. You can also reach out directly to me for one-on-one consultations, and I'll leave a link to both of these down in the description below. Now, under Analytics, there's the Keyword Tracking tool. This tool lets you monitor how well your product is ranking for different keywords on Amazon. For example, you can see here on this product, it'll show you how many competing products there are, how many organic keywords are in the top 10, top 50, and so on. The great part is that you can track this over time and see exactly how your rankings are moving. It's something that you might want to check once a week just to get a snapshot of how your product is performing across all of your main keywords. Next, we have the Market Tracker. This tool gives you insights on your competitors. Basically, it shows you how your competitors are performing compared to you. For example, I set this up for can openers, and down below, it lists some of the top competing products. You can see this product is the dominant player in the market. It has a power score of 96 and has 27,000 reviews. And overall, it's doing really well with over 31% of the market share in sales and close to $400,000 in monthly revenue. Another tool worth mentioning is the Profits Dashboard, which is basically your financial analytics inside Helium 10. It shows you how much revenue and profit your business is actually generating. Now, in this example, it's not fully set up, so everything is showing as 0. But once your Amazon account is connected, it's a really useful way to keep track of your real numbers behind your Amazon business and see exactly how much money you're making. Now, alerts is another useful tool. You can use alerts to monitor your products, such as notifying you when you have hijackers. Now, I highly suggest setting this up for all of your listings because hijackers is a pretty common issue with selling on Amazon, and using this tool can be extremely powerful for protecting your brand and keeping your listings safe. The Inventory Protector tool helps make sure no one abuses your coupons or discounts when you set them up. And don't underestimate this because I've seen this happen to beginners far too often, and they've had their entire inventory wiped out when they set up their coupons or promotions up incorrectly. And one buyer uses a single coupon to clear out their entire inventory for pennies on the dollar. Now, I personally don't use this tool, which is why you're not seeing any data here. But if you're new to selling on Amazon and you're running promotions, Inventory Protector is a great safeguard to have in place. All right, now the Managed Refund Service. This service is extremely helpful because it helps you claim money back from Amazon for products that were lost or damaged, or any money that Amazon owes you, such as improperly filed customer refunds. A lot of time, Amazon doesn't automatically reimburse you for those issues, and if you don't personally file a claim, you won't get your money back. So definitely consider using the refund service. They'll track down any errors, file claims, and help you recover any money that you're owed. Now, follow-up is Helium 10's email automation tool. This one's really powerful because when someone buys your product, you want to follow up with them and encourage them to leave you a product review. Reviews are the lifeblood of Amazon. The more reviews you get, the more sales you'll make. Follow-up is one of the few tools that makes it worth keeping Helium 10 month after month, even after you've already found your product, because it makes sending these follow-up emails much faster and easier, so you don't have to do them one by one manually through Seller Central. The last one here is inventory management. This is more of a high-level tool designed for supply chain logistics. If you're managing a lot of products and need to stay on top of restocking and forecasting, this is a great tool to help you manage that. Now remember, I posted a link to the huge Helium 10 discount down in the video description below, so make sure you take advantage of that. And if you're on the fence about Helium 10, go ahead and give the free plan a try. You can sign up for free using the same link. Now, this video covered just one small aspect of selling on Amazon. This video right over here is a full-length, free, 8-hour deep dive that I painstakingly put together that goes over step by step how to get started selling on Amazon. So if you enjoyed this video, I'm positive that you'll find value in that one too.